Welcome back, everybody. Mark Jones, George Sadie, Scott Bowow.
Hello.
So my daughter, just real quick, my daughter was playing in a golf tournament, and they see the name and they don't know how to say it, right? They see BAIO. So one guy goes, teeing off now from Bradenton, Florida, Bailey Bowow.
That's funny.
And my daughter was like, you idiot. Anyway, well, okay, folks, listen, if you are a fan of action movies from the last, what do you say, guys, 40 years? Would you say 40?
Probably going on 40, yeah.
Probably 40. Yeah, at least, oh no, of course 40.
Yeah.
We have somebody coming on that is a friend of ours that we met at the Cigar Lounge. We met him at the Cigar Lounge in LA, right?
Many years ago.
Yeah, many years ago. He was a stuntman. He was a stunt coordinator. He is a stunt. I don't know if he's a stunts anymore. A stunt coordinator, director. Good human being. And I'm kind of excited to talk to this guy because as friendly as we are, you know, you don't want to. There's so many questions you want to ask your friends about this and that, and it seems kind of stupid. But anyway, we get a chance to talk to him. And ladies and gentlemen, let me bring on Mr. Joel Kramer, the one and only.
Hold on.
He's right now, but he'll
ready to go.
Give me a minute.
Okay,
there
Joel.
I am. Need to rearrange this.
There we go. That's Joel Kramer, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, Joel.
The great Joel Kramer, who now lives in Arizona. Say hi. Sorry, Joel, I cut you.
I want to say hello to you three gentlemen first. Thanks for having me on. Scott, Mark, and George. We go back. Like you said, Scott, we have a lot of fun, but we really don't get into a lot of the questions that we'd like to talk to about each other, even though we're good personal friends. So please, I'm all here for you. I'm all here.
Okay, great. All right. So just off the top, give us like four movies that everybody knows forever that you either gaffed, either you stunted, or you directed. Just give us.
All right, I'll go in chronological order. BladeRunner, 2049, Fast and Furious 7, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Cliffhanger, Last Act here.
All right, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Anything we've heard of besides those?
Pardon?
He said
Anything we've heard of?
Anything current? Yeah, I actually have a movie.
Anything we'd heard, anything we would have heard of.
Well, there's a new movie coming out called Code 3 that I did 2 years ago.
Oh, good. All right.
Coming out with Rainn Wilson.
Who?
Rainn Wilson.
Oh, no.
And Little Rel Howery, comedian.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Joel, where are you from?
Originally from Tucson, Arizona. Moved to California when I was 7.
Why?
And, my father was in the Air Force. Then he went to work for Hughes Aircraft, got transferred. And, you know, it's one of those bugs I had when we moved there. I always wanted to get into the film business. I wanted to be an actor, but I was so bad at it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait. You're getting ahead of me. Now, what did your dad do?
He was in the Air Force. Then he became a guidance system designer for the early Phoenix missiles that were on the F-14 Tomcats and a lot of the 1970s and 80s arsenal in the Navy, Air Force, and Marines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a black and white smart guy. One of those guys, black and white, no gray area. So growing up with him was a little strict.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have an older brother and a younger sister. We're all about, my younger sister is 6 years younger, brother's about 1.5 years older.
All right. So you're living you moved from Tucson to California.
Right.
And go to school, and you wanted to be an actor.
Right.
At what age did you want to be an actor? What did you like? What was that?
Okay, I want to give you a little quick story real quick. So remember the old Batman series in 66, 67?
I do.
My favorite.
Okay. One of the stuntmen on that show, Roger Creed, in between the seasons, in the off season, would build houses. He was doing a room addition at our neighbor's house. And he was this big buff guy. Him and his wife were doing all the construction. And when he started back on the series, he would take like 8 of us neighborhood kids down to the set to meet Burt Ward and Adam West and watch him shoot. And that's where I got the itch. Yeah, down to 20th Century Fox.
I loved Adam West. I loved that guy.
And I got to double him years later. I'll tell you about that later.
Okay.
It
All
was
right.
quite an experience.
So did you go on auditions?
I did. I had an acting agent named Terry Lichtman, and she sent me on a lot of auditions. Out of probably 90, I got one job, and it was a pseudo stunt job with some dialogue.
What was it for?
It was 240 Robert with Mark Herman and I forget the name of the show. Yeah.
Rick Rosner produced it, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
A TV show?
Yeah, a time show when a season.
Yeah.
And what was the what did you do? What was the stunt you did on it?
I had to dodge a speeding car crashing into a gas station. I played a gas station attendant.
How old were you?
Maybe 20, 21,
Okay.
19, somewhere in there.
So you're working at a gas station, a car comes speeding through and you had to jump out of the way. Did they hire you? They hired you to be an actor, but said, hey, can you do this as well?
No, I read for the casting director and I read for the producer and the director. And the first assistant director happened to be in the reading. And I guess my reading was so bad, but the first AD went to the director and go, Joel's been a friend of mine for a number of years and he's really trying to get a leg up in the business. And they gave me the day.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Which I thought was really cool.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, very cool. I mean, that's how it happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, it's funny. When I moved to Woodland Hills, I lived 2 blocks away from Mark Jones and didn't know it till decades later.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Better off.
We went to the same junior high, grade school, and high school.
You went to Taft? Not Taft.
I went to Taft. Yeah.
And
Park
Park
went to Taft.
Junior High.
In Woodland Hills. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you do this role.
Yep.
And you do the stunt. Which did you like better, the stunt or the role?
Well, the stunt, and I'll tell you why. I grew up as a high diver, champion swimmer when I was 8 years old.
Really? Hang on. Whoa. Wait.
Back up.
Wait. You were champion diver?
A swimmer when I was 8 years old for AAU. And in fact, my coach told my parents, this kid I could train him for the Olympics. And we were in Tucson, Arizona at the time. And then we moved and it kind of went south. And I was a high diver in junior high school. And, I just loved, I was always an acrobat. I always had an air sense. So you didn't have fear of heights, obviously. And how high, are you the 10 meter, 7 meter? What did you do? Oh, no, I was only off a 2 and 3 meter board, 1 meter. A fear of heights, everybody has an itinerant fear. You learn to harness that,
Okay.
Even we'll get into that. Yeah.
I didn't know that. And Joel was a champion swimmer. All right. So you do this role, and they throw that role to you because you know the guy.
Yes.
And so you got a SAG card, or what is it, Taft-Hartley? What's it called?
Well, here's what happened. I had gotten a Taft-Hartley. And then I was still doing extra work on the interim with Central Casting, just doing anything I could do to keep myself working, meeting people. So I get a call to go down to Paramount Studios and to play a Klingon in Star Trek The Next Generation. And they wanted stuntmen. I liked them, but they said, I'm a stuntman. And I got in on the interview, told them I had my SAG card, which I didn't. But I got picked for one of the 3 parts. And
hold on, you got picked. What? You're kind of going in and out, Joe. You picked what?
Sorry. So I got picked for one of the parts as a Klingon on Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Was that the one with V'ger?
Yes, the opening sequence. And I lied about having a SAG card. I lied about experience as a stuntman. Got the part anyway. Ended up having to pay for my SAG card because I was staff partly prior. And, it just kind of parlayed from there. I met a stunt coordinator on that set. He said, man, you got a good look. You did a great job. Keep in touch with me. The way stuntmen would get work back then, someone like myself, if you didn't have a parent or a family member to help you in the business, it would go down to every set I could get on. That's me as a Klingon.
Which
And
one? Which one?
The one in foreground. Camera, the one on camera.
That was before they put makeup on you.
Yes. A funny story about that, Mark. We had 2 a.m. makeup calls to be set ready at 8. On the first day, we could not wait to get in our makeup because they had to make molds of our head, false teeth, contact lenses, and they had these big suits on. We had to be on layback boards and couldn't bend. And back then, they were still using arc lights on set.
Oh,
so
wow.
wearing all this, it's 140 degrees.
Yeah.
By the second day, the poor assistant director, we're hiding in the scaffolding. They couldn't find us. We did not want to get into makeup, but we had to tough out and do
So
it.
if people don't know what an arc light is, it's a huge light, and they burn carbon
Arc.
They burn a steel rod like a welding rod. That thing is thousands of degrees.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable. They're gone, aren't they? They don't use them.
Yeah,
They were so. They actually had chimneys on them. Some.
Yes, yeah.
It was so
The
damn
smoke
hot.
was so bad and toxic. The smoke would rise up coming out of them. It was.
And they used to pull it out with like a
Big
pair of
tortilla.
Yeah.
and they'd throw it on the ground because it was like molten lava.
It would burn right through your bone.
They would grab it, dip it in a water bucket, grab a new arc, put it in there, and strike that to get it going.
All right. Okay. So you do. So you now you're. Are you a stuntman at this point?
Well, I'm still kind of got my little toe in the water. So at that point, I meet a girl named Joji Barris at a party. Her father's George Barris, the car customizer.
Oh, I know. I knew George.
You know George, built the Batmobile, all those cars.
He
So
built
we're
the Batmobile.
dating. Yeah, we're dating, and we're teenagers. I'm 19, 20 years old. Joji, I believe, was like 18. And her dad did a low-budget movie with Fabian Forte. Remember the 50s singer Fabian? And he got me a part on that. And I played a small acting role. And then I did a bunch of motorcycles for Fabian and for myself during this little motocross chase they had in the movie. And I met a stunt coordinator named Wally Crowder. And he said to me, he goes, you got a lot of talent on that bike. I could use you. So he started teaching me driving. His forte was precision driving and stunt driving. I studied with him. I bought an old car. I practiced, and I went and I learned everything I could. And Wally's the one that really, and George Barris are the ones that really gave me my head start. And from there, I met Ronnie Rondell and Terry Leonard, Ted White, and I started up the ladder, getting more days as a stuntman, still doing every odd job I could in the business and moving furniture on the interim.
That's Ted White.
There's
legendary.
Ted White.
He doubled. He stunted for John Wayne, Clark Gable.
Yeah.
And he was one of the first guys on Iwo Jima, and he passed away how long ago?
About 4 or 5 years ago, I think.
4 or 5 years. He was what was it, Jason?
He was
one of the the fourth Jason movie.
Number 4, we can see it.
Exactly.
He had.
And he was in the costume and Creature from the Black Lagoon.
The original Creature in the Black Lagoon. That's a great story. But I don't want to tell that story but tough old man. All right, so you're working on you're figuring out how to do cars and motorcycles.
Back in my day, you had to do it all. You had to do fights, underwater work, sword fighting, high falls, fire burns, motorcycles, cars, tumbling, because that's the only way you got day work, And if, as a stunt coordinator, I could take a quorum of 10 guys that can do everything versus bringing in 20 or 30 guys to do one thing, costing, a lot of money out of the budget for travel and hotels. So, if you wanted to work, you did as much as you could. You learned.
Joel, are you in that car? Are you in that car, Joel?
Yes, I am.
The black one?
The black one. That's called a pipe ramp car turnover. Yeah.
Just one quick question. Did you, when you started to do stunts, didn't you guys get paid more than a regular day rate in SAG? Also, you get stunt bumps. So you were actually probably making more money than just a day player. Am I right?
The way it would work is we got the same basic daily rate or weekly rate as an actor.
Right.
But depending on the difficulty of the stunt, you would get anywhere from $100 to $10,000 above scale.
Right. Right.
You know, and depending on the coordinator, some were very cheap to work for because you knew going in you weren't going to get paid and you were going to sell it out. That was on Knight Rider. I doubled David Hasselhoff for several seasons, and this was called Circus Night. I almost died doing that stunt.
Are you on the back or driving?
I'm on the back. And Terry Leonard said to me, he goes, "Why didn't they put a dummy on the back?" I said, "They did." But here's the deal. Here's the deal. You know, as a stuntman, we figure out this: can we do this? And you look at every angle and every nuance, and you plan to make sure you try to give it 99.9%. You don't always. Stunts are like a junkyard dog. Every now and then you're going to get bit. And on that stunt, when Jack Gill, the stunt coordinator, called me, we had one of the best drivers. He used to drive car on two wheels, ramp to ramp jump, named Buzz Bundy. So we're doing the test jumps. And when you jump a car, if you come off a ramp and you go and you still have your foot on the accelerator, the car is going to arc nose down. If you come off the ramp without any accelerator, it's going to land a little more flat. So that being said, we wanted that car to come in a little nose down to catch the catch ramps on the other side for a smooth landing. So I watched about 4 test jumps. We put weight on the back, and the car was coming in and kabooming. And I said, "Jack, I don't think this is going to work." I said, "He's not coming in with enough power. I want you to drive the car. You'll put your foot in it." Speed was our friend. And this was about a 45-foot jump. Long story short, I'm on a platform in water ski boots. I've got a steel pole going up with a plate to my back. I'm harnessed in with a big steel ring. And I've got these water ski ropes to make it look like Michael Knight's doing this car jump. Well, all I remember is them calling action and us going into the circus tent, hitting the ramps. The next thing I remember, I'm in backboard, neck braces, the ambulance, David Hasselhoff's looking over me. I don't know where I am, who I am, and I'm going, did we do the stunt yet? He came in and he hit and kaboom, the car went up in the air. It broke the harness, shot me up in the air, 9 feet above the car. We're at 40 miles an hour. Wow. I came down on top of the car. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I came down on top of the car. I'm sliding off the hood. And Buzz, quick thinking, slid the car, spit me off before he ran over me. And, you know, I walked away from it. I had a concussion. I was back at work in a couple of days, but,
Okay,
when we took a job as a stuntman, I signed the contract. I can't, if something's so dangerous, I'm not going to put somebody in that position. But we seriously thought we could pull it off.
Right.
Joe, question: Did they use that in the show?
Yes, right up to the point it lands.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
I don't even know if they rewrote it or.
Sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
No, that was it.
All right. So you start doing was your first kind of, we want Joel Kramer for what? The first time they asked for you specifically was for what? To drive, jump?
Motorcycle. I doubled. You remember the original movie Walking Tall with
Sure.
Milford, what's his name? Yeah, I remember the movie.
Bo Svensson.
Had a baseball bat.
With Bo Svensson. They're doing a TV series. And Eric Cord, the stunt coordinator, goes, "I want Joel Kramer. He's a big dude to double Bo. We've got an old Honda 754, and he needs to jump it. He needs to ride it, evade cars, and he needs to slide it under a moving tractor trailer at 40 miles an hour." That was my first really big stunt job. And we pulled it off without a hitch, and it started to give me a name. I'm just a young kid. I'm just a young punk.
Right. You know? So now you're the young guy.
Yeah.
Did you have to join? Was Stunts Unlimited around?
Stunts Unlimited was around. Stunts Unlimited, Stuntmen's Association, like I'm a lifetime member.
Your Stuntmen's Association?
I was both. And what they are is they're fraternal groups. Originally, the top stunt performers were the Stuntmen's Association. It was established in 1961. In 1970, Hal Needham, Glenn Wilder, and Ronnie Rondell wanted to become more progressive in the stunt field. They wanted to, get out into more bigger car stunts. Back then, it was mainly westerns, fights and westerns, and falls.
Mhm.
And so the association at that time, they were kind of knocking heads. So Hal and these three started a new group called Brand X. They didn't have a name for the group. Then they came up with Stunts Unlimited,
Okay.
and it became the creme de la creme for a while.
Daron Kim just asked me if I did my own stunts on Charles and Charles.
I saw that.
I actually
yes?
did. I
Did
did.
you trip over
No, but
a microphone cord? He tripped accidentally on a.
I did. I tripped. I did a pratfall. That was about it. Right. Okay. So what is your next? I'm
I'll
trying
tell
to
you.
look at the progression, Joel, where you get to like doing these giant movies.
Right. Okay.
Go
I
ahead.
had gotten invited in to join the Stuntmen's Association in 1983. You have to meet a certain criteria of days worked for a lot of coordinators who are going to give you good praise. You have to make a certain amount a year. So I had to go up before the board. They vote on me, then I go up for the general membership, and they voted me in. So I was in the association. I'm in for maybe 3 months. And I'm walking into our office, and I bump into a stunt coordinator named Benny Dobbins. And he looked at me and he said, "Hey, kid, are you in our group?" I went, "Yes, sir, Mr. Dobbins. I'm Joel Kramer." We shook hands. He goes, you got a decent build. I'm doing this movie called Commando. How'd you like to stay in town and double Arnold Schwarzenegger?" And I said, "I'd love to." I was heading out of town to go do a movie in the Philippines for 4 months. I said, "Benny, let me make a phone call. I'm going to replace myself." And that started me off right there on Commando with Schwarzenegger. And Arnold and I became friends on the show. We trained together. And I did my job.
You're bigger than him.
We're close to the same size. His arms were a little bigger.
Oh, you mean that's not a strongman suit? That's actually you?
No, but they did.
Wow.
They did build a muscle suit for me at the beginning
Oh,
in some of the clothes.
But go ahead. Go.
The long story short, we finished Commando, some good funny stories from the show. And about 3 months later, I get a call from a stunt coordinator named Glenn Randall. Glenn did the original Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., he was a generation ahead of me. And he goes, "Hey, Joel," he had that weird voice. He goes, "Hey, I'm doing this movie called Raw Deal, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's camp requested you to double him." And I was happy, so excited. And it parlayed, and it just kept growing. Okay. I became Arnold's guy, his double, and then stepped into coordinating down the road, and then second unit directing.
Did smoking cigars help? Because you and Arnold are cigar smokers. Seriously.
Yeah, I was a cigar smoker. Yeah, and then I got hooked up on cigars. I used to go over to Arnold's office. He'd have boxes of Cubans, and I'd take a handful. He goes, "Have a cigar, you idiot." And I take a handful, and I put them in my bag. He goes, "Oh, why don't you take another handful?" Okay. I just like, why not?
He got you started smoking cigars.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Joel.
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger was big at the time, but he wasn't Terminator big, right? He wasn't.
Let me put it this way. When you saw him on Conan, the first one, he was just 8 months off of the Mr.
I don't mean physically.
No. Oh yeah.
I mean star power.
He was, he did Commando, and then he just started climbing up. By the late 80s, early 90s, he was top of the heap.
And what was he? What did he try to do any of his own stunts? Did they talk him out of it?
I tried. Okay, the first movie I did with him, Commando, there's a set of French glass doors that were breakaway glass. And the stunt coordinator, Benny, goes, "Hey, I want Arnold to run with the gun and jump through the French doors." I said, "Benny, it's not a good idea." He goes, "Why not?" "Because if he hits the footer, he's going down. And if he tears a shoulder and elbow, you're out an actor, and we hurt a friend. And he goes, no, I think he's okay to do it. So I had him take the glass out, and I said, Arnold, let's rehearse. And I rehearsed him. I said, pick your feet up. You're going to toe tap on the footer of that door. He goes, relax, I got it. Let's just shoot it. And so they put the glass back in, take one, he hits, wham, slams face down onto his elbows, jacks his shoulder up. And he comes up to me later, he goes, from now on, I listen to you, not the stunt coordinator.
No, so,
You're right.
he hurt himself.
Yeah, he dinged his shoulder pretty good, and he had to lay off of it for a while, so we had to push back some of the fight sequences, and so.
How long did you work on that?
Commando, about 6 months.
You're kidding.
No.
So did you do it? Where was that mall? Was that in the Valley?
That was the
Sepulveda?
Sepulveda and
Ventura.
Ventura Boulevard. Yeah.
Did you do it? Doesn't he?
Right?
What?
Didn't they shoot Fast Times in that mall?
Yes. Yeah.
Fast Times.
Did you do the stuff where rappelling down through the mall? Doesn't he come
You
flying?
mean the big swing on
The swing,
top?
yeah.
I did everything but that stunt. That was a specialty stunt. So we brought in a guy named Bob Yerkes, who's a Ringling.
Bob Yerkes.
You know Bobby, Ringling Brothers trapeze, because all he did was have one rope. He swung for 180 feet we have a descending elevator. He had to time it out, release himself, and drop. That to me is a specialty stunt. And I said to Benny, you got to get Bob to do this. Nowadays we'd rig the whole thing on wires, on computer winches, and anybody could do it. But back then, we had to do it for real.
Yeah, Bob Yerkes, by the way, you guys know this. Bob Yerkes did when they did. Remember Circus of the Stars?
Yeah.
Bob Yerkes had a circus in his backyard, and you would rehearse in his backyard. That's how Bob Yerkes, he does the stunt hanging from the Statue of Liberty. Isn't that him?
I was on that show with him. I was one of the guys chasing him.
What was the show?
Remo Williams.
Yeah, great. You did Remo Williams?
Oh yeah.
I loved the actor.
Fred Ward.
Great. Love Fred Ward.
Yeah.
Joe, I have a question. Wasn't that the first first unit directing of a stunt guy on Remo Williams?
No, it
Who am I
wasn't.
thinking?
Wait a minute. Mark, that's Joel in the year of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, you'll never guess what I was saying to her, but anyway.
Yeah. No, I remember the movie. I thought it was a stunt guy who directed that.
I can't remember the actual first unit director, but no, it wasn't.
Okay.
The first stunt guy to really direct a movie was Hal Needham. When he
Right.
did Smokey and the Bandit and Hooper, but
I have a question about Terminator. That was 84.
right.
So was Commando after Terminator? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's when
Commando was after the first Terminator.
Terminator was what really put Arnold on the map.
Big time. I'll tell you a quick story. We're
Yeah.
shooting Remo Williams in New York in 83. And I got a day off and I'm walking down Central Park and, just off Central Park down to, what's the square there, Scott? We're Broadway. I'm on Broadway. And I see I'm on Broadway, right by
Times Square?
Yeah, I'm in Times Square. Thank you. And there's a movie playing called Terminator. Just came out, and I go, I think I'll go see it. Well, I walked out of that movie, went back to the hotel, and I got every stunt guy go, you got to come see this freaking movie.
Yeah.
It is awesome, for its time. And little did I know, a year later, I'm going to be doubling Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, that's what that.
Who knew? Who knew?
Joel, you said something when Yerkes did the swing in Commando across the mall. You said today you wouldn't do it that way.
No, because
so he was really swinging from a rope, hanging on by one hand, going through the mall
on a loop. It's called a loop.
Right.
And he could wiggle out and release himself. No safety. The only safety was him holding on to it had a loop, and the rope came up, and it was a good thick manila rope, and he hung on to it.
And what would they do today?
Today, what we would do is I'd put a traveler system up there, and I could take you as an actor and put a bridle behind you, and I could travel you that whole way and then decelerate you right down like you weigh 2 pounds.
And it would be completely safe.
Completely safe, and I could do it take after take. You as a director say, Joel, can we make him move maybe a little faster? Sure. Can we do the drop a little? Sure. And just
So
right.
I was going to say, at what point did the danger was always there, but when you were doing it, you guys really risked life and limb.
We always had to. In fact, the first time they ever used cables, thick cables, when we used to do flying jobs, we'd be on these real thin piano wires. And, let me put it this way, you're puckered pretty tight because those can snap.
Yeah.
And when we did Terminator 2 Judgment Day, we had to jump the motorcycle into the flood control canal.
Great.
I'm in a concept
Now,
meeting.
Joel, are you wearing an Arnold mask?
No, what I did, that's directing Arnold actually in a scene. I'll explain how we did it, what we did.
I'll go. Do that first.
Jim said, Kramer, I don't know how you're going to do it, but I do not want a dirt bike to look like a Harley to jump. And I said, Jim, we can't do that. And
Joel, hang on one second. So, so people know.
Right.
In Terminator 2, there's the scene where the Terminator is chasing the boy.
The T-1000, so the T-1000 straight.
Yeah, chasing the boy. And in LA, there are these, what do they call them?
The flood control canals.
The flood control channels that are maybe 12 feet from the street.
Oh, easily.
15 feet from the street. And there's
sometimes more.
And the sidewalk is above it. And at a certain point, the sidewalk goes like this. And then there's nothing else going down into the flood channel.
I'm in the meeting and I said to Jim says, whatever you do, Kramer, I can erase the cables. I went, what? He goes, yeah, we can pixel out the cables and put the background in. Never been done before. So then I started thinking. I said, Jim, we can fly the bike. He goes, fly the bike? I said, yeah, we'll put big 60-ton cranes up, 1,000. I found the location. I went out on my own and found that certain flood control for that stunt. I went back to the office. I said, Jim, look at these Polaroids. Back then, we could only take Polaroids. He goes, where is this? He goes, let's go look at it. We went out there. He goes, Kramer, this works perfect. I said, what's perfect about it, Jim, is we've got the point where the two flood control canals converge to one. And we got 1,000 feet before they converge out. And I said, we have a service road 100 feet over on the right. He goes, what for? I said, because I spoke to the crane operator. We're going to use the crane cable and spool out 1,000 feet as an overhead. We're going to build a trolley on wheels, suspend the motorcycle and the rider. And then we're going to put a cable that goes along the cable over to a car that pulls it. So it pulls the bike at 35 miles an hour.
Oh my God.
He goes, how do you land it? I said, the cable weighs 18,500 pounds. He's got a digital tension meter on that cable. So with the rider and the bike, we rehearsed all this in a yard. I rehearsed the hell out of it. And with the bike and the rider, we're all together. The bike weighed about 500. I was 200. So we're around 740 pounds. He goes, I can lower the whole cable. I'll winch the whole system out, drop the cable, and I can make that bike weigh 50 to 100 pounds when it hits. And that's exactly how we did it. So once we had the stunt dialed in, I set it up in a huge empty lot in North Hollywood. We rehearsed for 4 or 5 days, in increments, faster and faster, higher, and I rode that thing 15 times, almost got killed on it once. And by the time we had it locked in, I could have put Scott, I could have put your mom on it. So what I did on the day is, because I wanted to stay behind camera, I'm the stunt coordinator. Also, I'm doubling Arnold for a lot of things, but as a coordinator, I don't want to double him for everything. I put another guy on the bike and I said, all you have to do is sit here and look stoic. There's nothing else you have to do. We will balance the bike. And once it almost comes to a stop, just touch the brakes and put your feet out. That's all you have to do. And the rest was on the crane operator, and it worked.
I wanted to ask you, Joel. The bike was a stock bike.
It was a stock Harley Davidson. God, what model was it? It was a, oh God, let me think.
I think it was the fat, no,
It was a fat boy.
Was it Fat Boy?
Fat boy. I'll tell you a funny story. We had 5 fat boys, and I had their head racing mechanic, Sparky Edmonston. I had 3 of them built for stunt racing. I had bigger pistons, Makunis on them, different. And I kept one of them pristine because I made a deal with the company. I get to buy one for 40 cents on the dollar after the show. So one of them never came out of the stunt, semi-tractor trailer, Long story short.
Was Cameron totally loved the fact that you could use a real Harley where he was convinced he couldn't, right?
Real Harley. So now we're rehearsing. We're in prep on the movie. Now let me jump back to Total Recall for a minute. I want to tell you a quick anecdotal story. Arnold, we made friends. We're in Mexico City on Total Recall, and Arnold made friends with the chief of police, General Juan Castillejo. And he said, Arnold, I know you like to ride motorcycles. If you have your new Harley brought down here, I will send a police brigade with you, and we'll close streets, and you can ride. So Maria had just bought Arnold a brand new Softail for his birthday in 1989. He has it crated, shipped down. It doesn't run right, so they take it to the police garage in Mexico City. They get it running. He rides it once. Now let's cut back to Terminator 2 about 8 months later. He hasn't ridden his motorcycle since. He calls me up, Jolie, how's the show going? How's the prep? Tell me, fill me in. And he goes, do you guys have a good motorcycle mechanic? I went, yeah, why? He goes, my new Harley, it doesn't run. I said, all right, Sparky's right here. We'll have transportation pick it up, bring it down, we'll get it running for you. So Transpo goes and picks up his bike. 2 days later, our head mechanic comes up to me. He goes, Joel, I don't know how to tell you this, but that brand new motor in that bike has 100,000 miles on it.
Wow.
I went, what? They switched, they stole his brand new Evolution motor in Mexico and put an old beat up Harley motor in it. So I go, let me call him and tell him. I said, Arnold, we found out the problem. He goes, what? I said, down in Mexico City, they swap motors on you. He goes, what? No. I went, yeah, no, yeah, no. How many times are you going to say no? Yeah, you got a beat up old knucklehead motor on that bike. So Arnold says, whatever it costs, I pay for a new motor. And we built him a new one.
That's funny. So,
Go, George.
somebody asked, what was your favorite stunt? But I was going to actually ask, what was the most dangerous, or do you have a favorite?
Most dangerous stunt to me was, you saw the end of Predator?
Yeah. By the way, Joel, Predator is one of my all-time favorite movies. That's a great movie.
It was, that was one of the movies McTiernan did well. And I would say it was one of the most physically demanding movies in one of the hottest tropical locations. We fought insects, snakes. It was hot. It was humid, but everybody kicked butt, and
I mean, it was like 80, 89?
We did Predator. I think it was actually 87 or 88.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
But tell the story. Tell that story.
So to me, I did a lot of physical stunts on that show for Arnold. The toughest one was the end where you see him sliding and he goes over the waterfall.
Oh my God. Great scene.
That was a 90-foot jump to a waterfall, the water. And that one, when we got to that location, that was shot in a place called Agua Azul, Mesmaloja down in Palenque, Chiapas, which is near the Guatemalan border where the Mayan ruins are, on the southern tip of Mexico, in the most dense jungle you could ever find. And we did the first part of that stunt, a smaller waterfall, on a place called Agua Azul, and which was all limestone. But the end stunt, because the water, when it came down, it hit the rocks. And it was a 180-degree canyon that went up for about 200 feet. And so we had to rig a cable across. And I was literally 25 feet from the waterfall when I did that stunt. And they built a little 2x6 chair, and they hand hoisted me up. And I had a mark on the wall at 85 feet. And I kept looking at it every day. And, you don't want to think about it. It's just one of those stunts you got to do.
Wow.
So I'm sitting on this little chair, and they're hoisting me up. They got 4 cameras set. And I see my mark, and I kept going higher. And I'm screaming, Alto, Alto, stop. And I'm going, yeah, yeah. I get up. I've got to be 15 feet above this. So I'm somewhere around 105 feet in the air. And they call action, and I came off, and I went into a header, and then came down into a full flip. And that's where you see me screaming all the way into the water. So it was only 12 feet deep. So I hit the water, and I came up. And the adrenaline's going, and I'm so glad that stunt is done. Henry Kinsey and Tony Brubaker are my safety crew. They come get me in the Zodiac. I get in the boat, and I get to shore, and John McTiernan, our director, goes, hey, we got to go again. I went, what? You don't do a stunt like that second time. You know? He goes, we missed it on 3 of the 4 cameras. And I'm, oh, are you kidding me? So they dry me off. They redo the mud and the makeup. I go to, meanwhile, while there's resetting cameras, I got about 20 minutes. I go to Chovy, our Mexican special effects coordinator. I said, come here. I said, what the F was the deal with you taking me up past our mark? He goes, Senor Kramer, Senor McTiernan kept telling me to go higher and higher. I said, you know better. I said, don't you ever do that again. So they take me up to about 90 feet. I do the stunt a second time, comes off picture perfect. Now your adrenaline's going. When that adrenaline wears off, you're tired. I get up and he goes,
Hang on, Joe.
Yeah.
You're sitting in a little wooden thing.
Picture a swing. You know, a swing like you swing your kid on. Yeah. That's what I'm sitting on.
Okay, so you have to slide off that.
I push off.
Go head first.
Yeah.
And then flip and land on your feet.
I come off and I flip. And it's all controlled, and I come back to my feet, and I fell the last 50 feet, 60 feet first, and then I have to pike when I hit the water. And once I hit the water, I have to immediately pike and bend like a jackknife, so my body spreads out and I don't go straight down like a.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
So I'm up there, and I'm watching them still mess with the cameras, and you're hanging onto these cables like if something happens, you could hold on. Never going to happen. They're the size of a number 2 pencil, right? Anyway, I do it a second time. I get to the boat. I'm done. They come. First AD goes, we got to go again. I went, what?
A third time?
2 of the cameras malfunctioned. So I go back to take 2 where McTiernan lied to me. He's moving cameras, getting other angles. He's lying to me to bring stunts out of me.
Wow.
The third take. On the third take, as I come out, I get my legs together. I don't get my left leg locked out, and I hit the water, and it pushed up, bent up past my ear. So I blew my knee out really bad. Now we're down in Palenque, Chiapas. There's the closest hospital is 65 miles, and I come up to the surface and said, "Guys, my knee's gone. Get me in the boat." They pull me in. It's blown up like a basketball. And I'm laying back in the Zodiac before they get me out. And John McTiernan looms over and he goes, hey, good stunt, worth getting hurt for. I reared back and he backed off and ran. If I could have gotten up, I'd have hit him. I'd have knocked him out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Joel, a question. You had to do it 3 times. Did you get an extra huge bump every time?
I paid myself handsomely for that.
Okay. Yeah. So you will get multiple bumps if you have to do that more than once.
Normally, when I do a budget for something like that, I'll budget for 2 takes. But if you do 3, I'll go to the producer. I've always got padding in my budget. But I'll go to those above me and say, look, the director called for this again. This was a $5,000 a take stunt back then. This is what I'm going to pay him. And they go, you got it. He earned it. You know?
Wow.
Joel, did you come across that a lot with directors just abusing you, for lack of a better term, saying, oh, he's just a stunt guy, he's made of steel, don't worry about it, drop him on his head again?
Scott, you run the gambit. There are some directors that absolutely respect the stunt crew and trust you. There are some that, like you said, think we're just a beanbag that can be tossed around and hurt. But here's what I took away from it. I started thinking about it, and I said, you know what? I learned a valuable lesson. I will never let a director push me or any of my stunt people into a situation I don't deem is safe. I don't care who they are.
what happened with McTiernan after that?
After that, okay, so I never wanted to even see the guy again. Arnold, long story short, I'm doing Cliffhanger 4 years later. And Arnold calls me. I'm in Italy. We're shooting in Cortina in Rome. He goes, hey, listen, when are you home? I said, in 6 weeks. He goes, perfect. We do this movie with John McTiernan. He's a great director. I said, really, John? He goes, yeah, we're going to do Last Action Hero. And about a third of the way through that movie, I had it with John. He was trying to hurt one of our kid actors and a stuntman. And I went off on him. I got in his face and I told him, you're not going to do this. It's not going to happen. Not as long as I'm on this show, or I quit. And he just smiled at me. He goes, why don't you quit? I went, you effing got it. And I walked.
Yeah.
I got a call from the head of production going, Joel, please don't quit. I need you to finish, and I just took a day off and went back to work and finished the show.
All right.
But after that, he couldn't get a job. He got
Joel,
this woman asks a good question, and I just, because it's up now.
Right.
How many surgeries have you had because of your stunts?
Orthopedic surgeries, probably. I'm going to guess 18 to 20.
And you needed back surgery, another one, right?
Well, yeah. Okay. When I say orthopedic, that's 4 spine surgeries in the last 2 years that I'm paying for now from things I did 40 years ago. But, when you tear your knee, you tear ligaments, you tear tendon, things like that. Those are surgeries, shoulder surgeries, and you get right back on the bike and go to work. My biggest surgeries, the biggest ones that I wouldn't want to go through again, is I had to have 2 knee replacements, after years of wearing my knees out, and my spine surgeries. I broke my back on Total Recall. I healed and got back to work, but years later with the arthritis and stenosis.
Would you break it? What was the stunt on Total Recall?
I don't know if you remember, there was a stunt where they're setting up the air on Mars.
Right.
And everything explodes, and Arnold and the Melina get shot out this mine, and they fall. They get shot out this mountain, and they hit and they tumble. Well, that's where I broke my back.
Wow.
Joel, you can, correct me if I'm wrong, but you as a stunt coordinator can override the director on anything that you feel is dangerous or you won't let a guy, and there's no penalty, right? Can't you override the director even?
Oh yeah. Oh, big time. I can shut him down.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
When you get in a screaming match this close with James Cameron because you're not going to let him do something, I got to be prepared to walk and back up my crew, which happened twice.
What was it?
I won each time.
What was it? What did he want you to do?
Well, the first one was on Terminator 2 Judgment Day. If you remember the scene in the Cyberdyne lobby where Arnold drives that big SWAT van through the glass, they have 30 stunt people scattering, and we 180 that 10-ton machine. It has to end up at a certain point. And coming into that, there was a flower bed 8 feet wide of solid cement, 4 feet high for 60 feet. So every night we'd get off work at 3 and 4 in the morning, I would go out behind there and I set up cones because I knew this stunt was coming up. So I marked cones for the flower bed, the inside. I detailed the whole set and I wet it down. It was 38 degrees at night because I wanted it slick because the inside of that was linoleum. And what I'm worried about, I don't care if I crash the car and go through the set. I don't want to hit any of my stunt people. So I had this stunt so dialed in, I could do it blindfolded. I just had the timing down, where I pitched the slide, where it's going to go, down to the inch. So it comes the night to do it. There's 2 stories of glass, and Jim setting cameras. And I walk up to him. I said, "You can't put cameras there." He looks at me. He goes, "What?" I said, "You can't put your cameras there. They have to go over here." He goes, "Kramer, are you effing telling me how to set my cameras and direct my?" Now he's screaming at me. And he goes, I said, "Jim, I'm coming in here. I start the slide here. I'm going to drift 30 feet before that back end comes around right where your cameras are. You can't put them there." And it starts dawning on him I'm right. Then he starts yelling at me, "I studied physics at Fullerton, and da-da-da." We get tape measures out. We're doing geometry. And it dawns on him I'm right. So he goes, okay, we're going to do it your way. But when you F up this stunt and go through the back wall of that, and he's in my nose, you just keep driving, mister, all the way to LA because you're fired. And he's doing this in my chest. Now he's got this security desk that he wants the van to hit. I said, you got to move that forward. I'm going to slide inside of that. He goes, BS, you're going to effing go through the back. Long story short, we do the stunt. Comes out just as I told him. I slid right in front of that desk. Everything's perfect. Everybody's safe. And he comes up to me, and his back leg would shake when he's tapping his foot because he knew I proved him wrong in front of the crew. And he goes, can you do it again? Yeah, but you got to get Tommy Fisher here effects. We got to set, 30 pieces of glass to blow it. So I get Tommy Fisher. How long's your reset? 3 hours. Okay. We're sitting around waiting. Then Jim goes, all right, move that desk. He starts yelling all the orders of what I told him to do.
What you told him to do. Yeah, right. Good.
I've done that with Michael Mann too. I mean, there's another story on Collateral.
What did you work with Michael Mann in?
I did Heat. I did Collateral.
I didn't know you did. I didn't know you did Heat.
Yeah, I did Collateral, Heat, and I did. What was the one he did with Russell Crowe? I can't remember, but I did that picture. I was going to do Miami Vice, but I swore I'd never work with that guy again. There's an old joke in Hollywood. You have a guy walks into a room with a gun with one bullet. You have Michael Mann, Michael Bay, and Jim Cameron. And he has 2 bullets. He goes, who do you shoot? You go, Michael Mann twice.
Wow.
That's how difficult he was to work with.
You
Off
worked
the set, I loved him. On the set, different guy.
You worked with Pacino and De Niro.
Yeah.
Who did you like better?
Pacino.
More affable, more approachable.
He was very approachable. He had a great sense of humor. I mean, wonderful sense of humor. Bob was fine. We could have some fun with Bob, but but I really, really liked Al. We had been rehearsing and training the actors with live weapons for that shootout for 7 weeks. Live weapons. We go out to the sheriff's on a ranch, and we had a friend of mine named Mick Gould, who was ex-MI6, SAS. He did a lot of the gun training with these guys, and we would actually rent the location and go with the actors and block out the whole, LA shootout with the cops. We rented it by the Bonaventure on weekends, mapped out every inch of that shootout. So when Michael Mann was at one block shooting with the actors, I'm on shooting second unit with stunt people and, getting other shots for him. And, It was.
I can imagine. I mean, that was how many cameras were on that shootout scene? Did you coordinate that, Joel?
Mick Gould and I coordinated the whole shootout, and then while we were doing it, I would be directing second unit 2 blocks away, getting shots with the police cars pulling up, them dodging bullets, lots of other shots I would get while he's shooting with his actors shooting, and. There's a funny story.
How many cameras?
Michael we probably had 8, 9 cameras altogether.
No kidding.
But we had a lot of retakes, and when we did the heist, the day out, where I was going with this is we've been training Tom Sizemore, Val Kilmer, and except for Pacino, he's on another show. So we finally get Pacino for 2 weeks of training, and we're going to bring him out to live location. And I'm sitting on the steps of the bank that go into our location, and everybody's doing Tony Montana, right? It's just right. Somebody sits next to me. I don't even look at who it is. And I'm doing Tony Montana to another stunt guy. And this guy goes, hey, where do we get a cup of coffee? And I said, you want to have a cup of coffee? And I do and I turn, it's Al Pacino.
Oh, nice.
Oh, crap. And he's just staring daggers at me. I said, Mr. Pacino, I am so sorry. My name's Joel Kramer. I'm the second unit director, stunt coordinator. And he just looks at me like this. He goes, I don't give a F who you think you are. Nice. He breaks into character, pulls out his wallet, throws it down, builds this line. I don't even want a cup of coffee. I want the whole effing machine. And if there was a hole there, I crawled in. He busted out, started
Oh,
laughing.
that's
He had a
fantastic.
big hug. And he says, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
You know,
You
my,
might
That's my
want to go,
favorite.
but you
That's
might
my
want to go
favorite
change your
Kramer
pants.
story.
what, George?
Joel, that's my favorite of all the stories you've told me is that one.
Oh, it was a true story. If I could have crawled into a hole.
Oh, that's fantastic. But you know, my favorite line in that whole movie is Pacino goes, "She's got a great ass, and your head is way up in it."
You're just way up it.
Oh man. Who's the favorite? So, how many movies you do with Arnold?
God, I'd have to say 8 or 9.
And I wanted to ask, but let me go
Yeah.
back for 1 second, Joel.
Right.
So you said something about the motorcycle in Terminator 2, where you
Right.
floated it down on the cables, and you could have done it with a baby, and it was all safe.
When we had it safe, yes.
Yeah.
I was almost killed testing that stunt. And
Did the cable break?
no, we had a rostrum up 8 feet where we had the bike in the test yard. And then remember, I had cables coming off the marionette, the motorcycle, and it went up to a spreader bar on a trolley with wheels. And we had another cable that would triangulate to a car. And I told Scott Fisher, I said, let's take up the slack on the pole cable very slowly, because you want to pull it up and get it taut. And then when I say, okay, let's on 3, 2, 1, we go. And he pulls off speed. The way we did the stunt, we'd bring it up to speed, dip it down. We'd hit the end of that little knoll, get the tires spinning, and fly the bike out. That's what we're rehearsing. Well, I'm sitting on the bike, and all of a sudden I see the cable going. I go, holy crap! And all of a sudden he's doing about 30 miles an hour. He didn't slowly pull up the slab. Well, it pulled me, oscillated the system,
Oh my God.
slingshotted the whole bike 200 feet down, and it goes up the crane. And I'm about 12 feet in the air, and I bail off. And the bike fell right next to me. The first guy to me, there's a van pulling up to watch the rehearsal. It's Jim Cameron. He's the first one to me going, holy shit, Kramer, you okay, blah? I said, yeah. I mean, that was, the bike's like right next to me, you know. And,
Damn. Well, that's yeah. So my question about that was,
sorry,
when
go ahead.
Tom Cruise does all the stunts that he does, and I applaud him for whatever he does. I mean, I'm not knocking him.
Right.
You know, he's walking down the side of the building in Dubai or wherever it was. These are not stunts that they did when Ted White was around, or when you were around 30, 40 years ago. These are much more safe, much more controllable. I mean, again, I'm not knocking Cruise at all. I wouldn't do any of it. But
I've worked with Tom. You know, he's a consummate pro. I mean, the guy is a pro. And but we could have done those back then. Now they're done on computer winches.
Yeah.
But back then we would have done it on a whole belay system that's just as safe.
What did you do with him?
Pardon?
What did you do with Tom Cruise?
I did Collateral. I worked with Tom on Collateral.
That's a good movie.
It was a
really good movie.
And The Last Samurai, you know, and
I didn't see that.
I love that movie.
Tom, when we were training Tom, not just for the gun work, but the whole fight sequence inside the Korean nightclub, we trained Tom for 7 weeks. Tom was there an hour before everybody doing hot room yoga just to warm up. And he said, you know, if I get hurt, if I pull a muscle, the show's, we're down. That's what a pro he is, you know. And we had this one sequence where Tom has to snap this guy's leg, do a come around, and he's going through the club. So I hired a friend of mine who's an amputee. And we built a leg that Tom could sidekick and it would snap.
Oh, nice.
We're shooting the night we've been rehearsing it. Tom keeps coming up. He goes, Joel, I just can't get it out of my mind. I can't kick him hard. It's like I'm breaking his leg. I said, Tom, it's okay. The harder you snap that, the better it is for him.
God.
So it comes to the night we're shooting it. And Gary J., our camera operator, has got the camera in one spot and it's blocking the kick. And Tom goes, how many times are we going to do this? So I made a suggestion to Gary. I didn't know Michael Mann was standing here. I said, Gary, you know, the minute Tom walks in, if you slide 2 feet this way and pan right, bam, he goes, perfect, right across. Michael Mann waddles up to me. He goes, don't you ever tell me how to shoot my movie and set my freaking cameras. ever. And he's yelling at me, and Cruz is turned around laughing. I'm trying to bite my tongue and not laugh the way Michael Mann's looking up at me. And Michael Mann goes, so listen, here's what I want you to do. As he walks in, drift left and pan right a little bit. And I'm just going, nah. We did the same thing on the big turnover on Collateral.
I mean, you would think at a certain point that these directors, and I get everybody's got an ego, and these Michael Mann's a big deal.
Right.
They would say, look, Joel, what do you need me to do here? How do I make this work? Tell me what you need to do, and then I'll work around what you have. Right? I mean, isn't that the way to do it?
A lot of these sequences we plan out in great detail. But I always want to have, like Mark's a director, I want to be able to give Mark plan A, B, C, and D. He may come on set and see something and go, hey, Joel, I was just thinking about this last night at 4 a.m. Can we? I go, yeah, Mark, what do you think about bop, bop, or bop? And he goes, that's what I want. Just give me a little time to change it. That's all I ask, and that's totally allowable. James Cameron, we've done that on major stunt sequences where I'll go, Jim, instead of this, let's blah, blah, blah. And I'll see him look at me and he'll go, there you go, thinking. There you go, thinking.
Yeah, Mark, even when I know you don't do stunts like, crashing like those, but when you direct, don't you get with the stunt guy and say, hey, what is it that you need here?
Oh yeah, no, we had
because you used to direct, right?
What did he say?
He said you used to direct.
Yeah, wow. No, we actually the biggest action picture was Rumble, and we had truck chases and crashing boats and going over the cliffs. I always gave my stunt guys. I would make sure like everything was safe. I was very
not safe so much, Mark. But you would say, "What are you doing? Here's what I need. I need the boat to do A, B, C, and D. Tell me what it's going to look like, and then I have to work. Is that how you would do it?
Yes, I have always adjusted because the stunt guy would sometimes say it can look better if a camera's over there and we come this way, and I would absolutely listen to him and go, you know what, you're absolutely right. I had no ego when it came to stunts because I wanted the best stunts, and so did the stunt coordinators. So yeah, I was very good about listening to them, and I would ask them things. If we go this way, can it slide this way? And they would say yes or no, or we can do it this way. But yeah, I mean, you got to work very closely with the stunt coordinators because they know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah,
Mark, I'll give you for instance, Scott.
Let me ask you one question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Can I give you? George, go. Sorry.
Go, George.
You told me a story about a stunt that was set up. I think it was Rumpelstiltskin with the truck crashing into a tree, and they had the camera set, and you go, you got to move back.
Oh yeah, I'll tell it real quick, and you'll love this, Joel. I don't know if I told you. We had a scene where we had this big tanker truck going over this cliff in Acton, and it was supposed to roll and stop at this rock wall. And very, very good DP, Doug Milsom, he's great. We had about 6 cameras. He had a camera right behind the rock wall, and he had 3 camera guys, focus and camera. And I said, what if the truck doesn't roll and it goes down like a bullet? It's going to break through and hit those camera guys. And my stunt coordinator at the time said, it's not going to happen. We've tested it. It's going to roll. Doug said, Mark, it was only my second picture, so I was sort of a newbie. And Doug was going, Mark, you're being a little squeamish. I said, you know what? I'm just not comfortable. Move the cameras. And of course, you know where the story goes.
Oh, yeah.
Movie. The truck right over, barrels down like a bullet, smashes through the rock wall, continues and hits a tree, which was way beyond the camera. I would have killed the camera crew.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the one my instincts told me. But yeah, that's actually in the making of Rumble.
I'm glad you stuck to your instincts because you guys have time for 3 quick anecdotal stories that have to do with this.
We have time.
Yeah, you're it.
I'm going to tell you the first one on Terminator 2 Judgment Day. We shut down the Terminal Island Freeway for 4 miles to shoot the whole SWAT van helicopter chase where the helicopter's chasing them. And finally, at the end, I flipped the SWAT van at 75 miles an hour. So it's the night I'm going to cannon roll the SWAT van, this thing here. Now, it weighs maybe 10,000 pounds. So Jim Cameron when he goes to look at shots, he goes by himself. He goes, Kramer, at lunch, we're going up on top of the freeway. I want to talk about the turnover. So we're walking. He goes, where do you see you starting this stunt to get it on its side, and where do you see it ending? Now, in my brain, I'm going, okay, I'm at 75 miles an hour. I'm going to knock over a 10,000-pound vehicle. How do I know where it's going to end up? But I have a pretty good idea because I've done so many of these. And you get this sixth sense, you know. So I said, Jim, we're going to start the stunt here, bang it over. And I'm walking and I'm looking back and I'm walking and I go about 285 feet because the side of that's flat. So it's going to bleed off speed pretty quick, you know, instead of a car that'll keep rolling. And I go, Jim, it's going to land within 15 feet of this right here. He goes, you better be right, mister, because I'm lighting this and I'm going to set IMO crash cameras here. And am I safe to be on the other side of the Caltrops with a camera car? I said, you're safe to be there. You can be right behind me. When the cannon goes off, it's going to shoot the projectile, 90 degrees this way. He goes, how fast do you come in? I said, 75. So now we get all set up to do the stunt. It's the last shot of the night. I got all the stunt cars lined up. We had our safety meetings. I'm belted in. The cannon's hot. And all of a sudden I hear, that's a wrap, sun's coming up. And you're just like, really? First shot, next day. So the next day we're all reset. Same geography. I come in, start to pitch it, bang this thing over, and it hits circle. It does its deal and stops. My safety crew comes and gets me out. I climb out. Everything's good. Jim came up, gave me a big hug. Jim goes, come here. Jim and I signed our initials where we thought it would stop. He goes, look, the nose was that far from my initial and 6 feet from his initials. He goes, I don't know. He goes, I don't know how you did that. And I said, well, Jim, it's just, it's just experience.
Yeah.
And I walked away going, thank you, God. How do I know it's
this woman Arlene asks a pretty good question. I think we might have touched on it, Joel. The difference between now and then, I mean, there is no way. I mean, I remember Ted White saying he saw a guy get killed in a horse drag.
Yeah.
Because the post was supposed to break or it didn't break away or whatever. And the guy got killed. And I'm sure over the years it's gotten, safer. But there's so many things that you did, like the fall in
Predator.
They wouldn't do that again, would they?
Sure. You could do it now, but you could do it on a whole deceleration system where you could turn and flip, but it's still not going to be the same as a live fall. A good stuntman can still do the fall. A lot of stunts you still have to do real. You got to do in camera. Can we make them a lot safer today with CGI and taking cables out? Absolutely, and I'm all for it. Okay. And nowadays, in those days, they say, Joel, you're going to get shot. We want you to come off the roof of this, hit the roof on this story, and go to the ground. So we dig up the ground, and they want to do it all in one. Where my last fall's 8 feet to the ground. Now I can put pads down. Mark says to me, Joel, can the guy come out here and we take him to the ground? It's like, yeah, we'll put a pad there, green it out, then CGI will erase it. So yes, there are safer ways to do things.
Yeah,
now.
okay.
Yeah.
And you did Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And I love Stallone.
Yeah.
I don't know him. I met him briefly.
Right.
But were you hanging on cliffs in that movie?
I was the stunt coordinator on that show.
You were.
But we were on a lot of cliffs. And here's what's funny. When I first got the job, they sent me the script. I was in New York doing a picture with Jennifer Lopez. I can't remember the name of it. And I'm trying to read the script. Scott, it was so bad. It took me 8 hours to read it. It didn't flow. And then Stallone got a hold of it, rewrote it. 3 weeks later, they send me a new draft out there, and it's a page turner. I mean, wow. Sly's he's a brilliant writer.
Yeah, he's a brilliant
writer.
He
rewrote this, and it flowed. I had a ball with Sly on the show. Sly didn't like heights, so he was out of his element, but he did it anyway. He did.
Okay.
He was not he comes up to me one day because I always had to go put him in a harness and do this, and he'd go, "Oh yeah, I'm not wearing this." I said, "Hey, you wrote the movie," and he'd look at me and you know, Sly's a funny guy. He's got a great sense of humor.
Good guy.
Good guy. But what I used to do with Sly is we had several I had climbing doubles, I had stunt doubles, because we did some pretty intense stunt sequences on that movie. And stunts that I knew Sly could do, I would like, Sly, let's go over to this stage, or let's go over to this location, just you and I. I want to walk you through step by step the stunt and the way I want to set it up. And I'd set it up. And he goes, "I can't do that." I said, "You can do this. Let's try it." And he'd look. I said, "There's nobody looking." So I knew how to work to get Sly to do something so he wasn't embarrassed. And after we'd rehearse, he goes, "Joel, thank you. I knew I could do this. I can do this."
Is there a snowmobile story with him?
Oh, yeah. So, yes.
You don't have to tell it if you don't want to.
I'm going to tell it because it's quite funny. So we're in Cortina d'Ampezzo. And we're shooting, the first day we're shooting a place called Cristallo Bluff. It's actually a scripted place off of a ski run. And the snow over there is very wet, very big snowflakes, and they don't do a lot of avalanche control. And the day before we're shooting, it dumped about 7 feet. So myself, my stunt crew, and we're up there hours ahead of time digging stuff out so they can get up on snowcats to start shooting. And we're on snowshoes, and the snow is unstable. Well, here comes Sly to look at the location, and he's got Jennifer, his soon-to-be wife, on the back, and he's cruising up the ski run, and he's got on these tight, I mean, it's freaking cold. He's got on tight blue jeans, snakeskin boots, and this big jacket with fur here and on the collar and on the waist. And I go, "Sly, stop, don't get off, don't get off." And he steps off, takes a step, ends up upside down, and all you see are the feet sticking out. We're going, "Oh, shit, sorry. Oh, shoot." We pull him out, and he's pissed. I go, "Sly, it's not safe. Get back." Yeah, he takes another step, sinks up to here. We pull him out. Oh, God, the poor guy. You know, true story.
Did he have a sense of humor about
He
it?
laughed at it. Yeah, he did have a sense of humor.
All right. Give us an good Arnold story.
Oh, God, which
Come on,
one?
the one you told us, if you want to tell that one.
Which one? Remind me.
Which one?
With the bathroom.
Oh, God. Okay.
You don't have to tell it. That could be between
No,
us.
I'm going to tell it.
Okay, go ahead.
Gross. We used to always play jokes on each other, and they can get pretty gross. And we're doing Predator, and we're staying at the Camino Real Hotel in 1985 down in Puerto Vallarta. And it's about 3 miles out of town, got its own beach and cove. Arnold has the huge suite on top, and I have the room next to Arnold, so it connects. And we're shooting the jungle encampment sequence, and Arnold we're going to get off early that day, and we're all bloody and dirty. And Arnold goes, "I got to get back and take a shower." Maria's coming in today with some of her friends, and I wrap about 30 minutes before him, so I get a combi, which is a van, back to the hotel. And before I shower, I know Arnold's coming. I go into his room, and he's in his bathroom is this beautiful, I mean, solid onyx shower. It's got to be 8 feet wide, 5 feet, deep, and it's got twin shower heads coming down on a rainbird. And I go, "Oh, this is beautiful." So I just drop trowel and, take a dump right in the middle of his shower, right? And I leave.
I don't have a picture for that.
Huh?
I don't have a picture for that. I'm sorry.
No, you won't. And all of a sudden, as I close the door, I hear Arnold's key, and he's talking with his assistants. I don't say a word. And he's talking. I got to take a shower. And they're on the way to the airport, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. All of a sudden, I hear him go, "Oh, God." And he's, "Jolie boy, I know you're in there. Answer the door, you idiot. I think there's something of yours you left in the shower." And he's laughing hysterically because he'd have done it to me, right? And I'm not saying a word. Just then, there's a knock on his door. It's Maria. He comes, he hasn't showered yet, and he's got to have the maid service come up and clean this out. So we're at dinner that night, and he goes, "Come here." He goes, "Give me 10." He goes, "That was so good. Not only does the maid service think I crap myself in the shower? So it was Maria doesn't believe it was you.
Well, there's the reason I never liked toilet humor.
Well,
Yeah.
come on, Mark. This is first of all. I don't know. You have to understand. First of all, it's funny. Second of all, it's the planning of it.
Yeah.
The planning of it. Not only the planning of it, but you have to have one ready to go. So you can't. You know what I mean? There's a lot of thought that goes into it.
Well, this was another word, but
I'm never traveling with you guys.
Scott, do you remember a news reporter named Chantal?
Yeah.
Pretty blonde lady for Channel 4.
Yeah, it rings a bell.
We're shooting Red Heat, and Arnold's known to fart anywhere, anytime, right? He loves it. So she's interviewing him, right?
You had to start him, huh, Scott?
Well, this is funny, Scott. She's got the mic. He's a foot away. There's grip equipment, and I see this, and I seek the opportunity. And the only way I can get through is to squeeze in between them. And I naturally have one on deck, so I slowly let it slip out, and I get up to him. I go, "Sorry, guys, excuse me." And I get past him, and I go about 8 feet, and I'm watching behind this box. And I see Arnold going. He knows. He smells it. He goes. He's trying not to laugh. He's grinning, and she's trying to keep her composure. And she goes, "Oh my, oh my!" And he's looking at me, going, mm-hmm. He comes over about 10 minutes later. He goes, "Another time, give me 10." She thinks
this is good stuff, Mark Jones. This is good stuff. All right, Joe. I'm gonna
stunt stuff.
You're an old fart. Pardon the pun.
I got some great stories with Michael Mann, but
wait, no,
We'll save it.
go. Give us a
well,
Michael Mann.
I was going to tell you a story about Michael. You remember in Collateral where Jamie Foxx has enough and he's going to crash the car and kill them both?
Yeah.
We did a cannon roll. So about 5 weeks before we're going to shoot that, it's supposed to be a second unit shot I'm doing. Michael calls me to his motorhome. He goes, "Hey, I want you to test roll a car." I went, "What? What do you mean test roll a car?" He goes, "I want you to test roll a car. I want to see what's going to happen. I've showed you footage, of 18 different car turnovers. I'll tell you exactly." He goes, he got the UPM in there and the producer. He goes, "I want Joel to go out next week, find a location around here and test a cannon roll and shoot it for me." So I get 4 cameras. I have Tommy Fisher. They spend 12 grand caging a car, getting the fuel cells in it. We shoot it. I go to editorial, put it together, give it to Michael. I don't hear anything. 4 weeks later, I'm on my way home about 4 a.m. because we're shooting all nights. And I get a call, "Michael wants you back in his motorhome." I went, "What?" They're in downtown LA. I'm already back in the valley, so I got to drive all the way back out. And Michael Mann's looking at the footage. He goes, "Hey, that's pretty good stuff. Can we get more stuff falling off the car?" I said, "You dragged me all the way back there for this?" He went, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, Michael, it doesn't normally happen, but tell Tommy Fisher effects what you want." So 2 weeks later, Marie Canton from DreamWorks calls me up. She goes, "Joel, Michael wants you to test another Canon car. He wants the exact configuration of where we're shooting it in front of the Staples Center. And he wants you to take 8 cameras and set up a construction zone." I said, "What? Why don't I just shoot it there, in 2 weeks when we're ready to shoot it?" No, he wants to see what it's going to do. And he wants it to hit part. So I have all the geometry set up. We put out a whole second unit together. Now, this is in the morning, and I got to still work all that night. I haven't been to sleep yet. Neither is my crew. We get another Canon car ready. I get the stunt guy. We have the safety crews, the ambulances. We're at the Aqua del Sea Airport on the runway. We've got everything set up just like the intersection at Figueroa and whatever the street was. I get a call from Marie. I said, "We're going to shoot this now. We're out of here in 30 minutes. No, Michael wants to come watch. He's getting a helicopter and coming out." I go,
"Oh my God. This is why movies cost $200 million, by the way."
So here comes a Sikorsky about 30 minutes later. Not a little A-star, a big Sikorsky. Michael gets out with his wife. So when he's with his wife, he's in nice mode. So I walk him through. Here's the cement block. We're going to hit, boom, the cannon happens here. It's going to go about 340 feet. It's going to end up going off to its right. We want it to hit these parked cars and end up on its top so you can play your end scene. I go, Michael, 9 out of 10 times they end up back on their 4 wheels. It's just the geography of the car, and they're flat on the bottom, but we can do a shot where we'll cable it back over if need be. And I walked him through every camera, every height, every lens I had set up. We shot it. It came out picture perfect. I mean, it hit where he wanted it. And he's taking Phil. He goes, Joel, I want you to take a tape measure. I want to know how high your cameras are, how far they are from this camera to the end impact, from this camera to the end impact. So he wants me to geography everything I've done. Then it dawned on me, he didn't know how to shoot this. He wanted to see how I was going to shoot it.
Oh, wow.
Because he decided he wanted to shoot it. It's not going to be second unit.
Well, okay.
So we get out that night, 2 weeks later to shoot it. And Paul Cameron, our DP, is going, Joel, walk me through every camera. So I go set every camera with Paul. Michael goes and changes them. I said, Michael, you can't do that. You're too high. You're going to miss the shot. Your lens is too wide over here. It's going to look like a toy. This is going to, he goes, don't ever effing tell me how to set a shot. You got it. So what I did, having some experience, I called Peter Giuliano a week before, our producer. Peter, I'm building 2 Canon cars. He goes, good idea. So we do the first stunt. Our stunt guy does. Jay Lynch hit it perfect. Came out just where we wanted it. But Michael, it missed 4 of the cameras were out of focus. They weren't where they were supposed to be. They were too wide. They were this. He messed up the whole stunt. And he gathers everybody around. He says, okay, we're going to need to get this location back. We're going to reshoot this because it was far too violent and dangerous. He's making up BS because he didn't shoot it right.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes to me and he goes, how long will it take you guys to get another car and have it ready? I don't know, 20 minutes. And I just walk off. He goes, what? 20? I said, 20 minutes. We reset all the cameras the way to my original plan. Michael stays out of it at this point. Paul Cameron and I go set everything. And he comes up to me. He goes, hey, face to face, can you have them go faster? Oh, I thought you said it was too violent, Michael. And I'm trying not to laugh. And I walk back. I walk up to Jay. We're belting him in. I said, same thing. And it came out perfect.
Yeah.
This is the ego. You got to learn to psychologically handle certain
everybody wants more. I mean, that's what happened in the Twilight Zone movie, right?
Yep.
God
Oh,
does,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But Joel, let me ask you one last question. It doesn't have to be yours. What's the best stunt you've ever seen? Involved with or not?
Honestly, it's something I set up.
Okay.
And myself and Donna Keegan in our
What
helicopter.
was it?
True Lies, the helicopter stunt.
Yes.
Where we pull Jamie Lee's double, Donna Keegan.
Put that picture up, George, please.
You have that
You're looking for
Pardon?
No, I'm going to put that picture up, George. But George put that picture up. But Joel, tell us, was that in the script? Wait, who are you here?
Well, that is Jim Cameron shoot. We took Jamie Lee up after we did the stunt. I actually hooked her up to the helicopter. She's connected to me to a safety cable, and then Jim Cameron safety cabled out, grabbing her close-ups.
So wait,
George,
so that's you holding on to her?
Yes.
For real?
Yes, for real.
How high up are you?
Well, that would probably up to 300-400 feet.
With her? She loved it. She loved it.
She said it was the most fun she had with her clothes on.
Well, she's serious, though. You're not actually holding her, right?
Now, there's a funny story here. We're at Mojave Airport rehearsing the stunt 5 months prior. It's a remote control limousine. That's Donna Keegan and myself. We're rehearsing. Here's this footage of the actual stunt. That's Donna Keegan doubling Jamie and myself doubling Arnold. The real hero of this stunt is our helicopter pilot, Chuck Tamboro. And I'm going to tell you a true story on this. The problem Chuck had.
I know Chuck's.
You know Mike Tamboro and John?
I do.
Yeah.
So
when we rehearsed this, the problem was that
wait. Was this stunt in the script? Was it in the script?
In the script.
Okay, go ahead. All right, go ahead. So
this is one of those stunts I said to Jim in pre-production, Jim, we have to rehearse this. We have to know every detail of what can go wrong since it's a remote control limousine. Every time, we're 400 feet back in a camera car and the guy's operating the limo. So every time he makes a move, I need to know what's going to happen with my double in there. We walled in the sunroof and made it bigger. And because she's suspended for me, so I can get her out of trouble. I can pull her up. I have that strength to be able to lift her out. But I want to stop that car. I want to swerve it. I want to see. And she would just roll out and hang. So we had this pretty much dialed in. The real technical part was we had to do the stunt at 85 miles an hour because we had the helicopter.
So before you do that, what was the stunt? What did you have to do?
The stunt is we've got a limousine where Jamie Lee's fighting the Nemesis, and a gun goes off, kills the limo.
She's inside the limo fighting
inside the limo. The gun goes off that they're fighting over. It kills the driver. Now it's swerving, banging, and we're on the causeway between Marathon Key. So it's treacherous on both sides. And Arnold sees it, and he's got to get down on the skid, get in, grab her, and pull her out before it goes off at 27.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
So I said to Jim says to me, he goes, you've got to figure out the math on how far this car is going to go because I want to sink big barges with demolished set pieces of the bridge that the missiles from the carrier jets had already taken out part of the bridge. And so we figured out, we weighed the car, we had it, long story short, I said at 85 miles an hour, we're going to go 185 to 100 to 200 feet. You got a 15-foot window. He goes, okay. And plus Chuck Tamboro, at that speed, he's got better control of the ship. And we chose what's called a Bell 212 because it's got two motors. I said, if we lose a motor on this or a transmission on that helicopter, we're dead.
Yeah.
He goes, I can fly it on one. So when we did the rehearsal day, the helicopter's so big, helicopter pilots, instead of pilots in airplanes fly left seat, helicopter pilots fly right seat. So we're over, and he doesn't have a visual. And so that's why it took so long for us to dip her in. I had his brother Mike, Double, and Tom Arnold going, Chuck, 2 feet forward, 3 feet, which is tough to do. But I shot the rehearsal for Jim. It was a $100,000 rehearsal day. And we got it all done. It worked great. Comes the day of the stunt. We're in Marathon Key. And Chuck's still, I go, Chuck, you all right? He goes, no, man, we got 9 helicopters. We had to lift off with her on the cable from base camp. And they had the remote control limo. We had to drive out of base camp, go down the road, stop at stop signs till we got to the causeway. So we all stayed together.
Who's controlling the limo?
The limo's controlled by one of the effects guys that built it. And the camera car is right behind us.
Okay,
during the actual stunt, I said, Jim, we can stop that car if you call cut in 385 feet at 85 miles an hour. I've got 2 cones set at 400 feet. He goes, oh, is that what those are for before the drop off of the bridge? That's the point of no return. He goes, don't worry about them. I can roto them out. I said, okay. If you called cut before that, we can stop it. We had 2 cars built. And then I had you know how you get a brainstorm? I said, Chuck, I got an idea. He goes, what? I said, come over with me to the helicopter. Scott Fisher, effects, come to the helicopter. I got grips and effects. I said, can you guys get me an 8-foot piece of dowel? A piece of dowel, a round piece of wood like a shovel stick, 8 feet long. Grips goes, yeah, we have one of those. I said, Scott, do you have an orange tennis ball that you can clamp on the end of that? He goes, yeah. I said, clamp it to the right front of this axle. So there's actually 7 feet of stick out and a ball. I said, Chuck, heat up that helicopter. And we're about 300 feet from base camp. And so he hums it up. He brings it right over and he looks, he goes, now he's got a mark. Oh. He's got a visual to see. Well, here comes Cameron and the producer. Kramer, what do you? I said, I told Jim about it. He goes, oh, there you go thinking. Good idea. I'll take it out and post. If you freeze frame it on a DVD, you'll see he never did. But it worked. So Chuck was the true hero of that.
How many times did you do it?
Once. We got it the first take. We got up to speed. Chuck had a visual. He dipped her. So we're flying with him. As the car's picking up speed, 2 helicopters, we had 13 cameras on it. Chuck's over the limo. He dips it in. He dipped her in. And the stunt is we hold level. The car falls away.
I mean, that's dangerous.
Yeah,
that's unbelievably dangerous.
Yeah, that's why it was all up to the helicopter pilot.
All right, so
he's the best there is.
so you had to grab the stunt woman.
Well, we did that in earlier cuts without pulling her out. At this point, she's already connected to me to a 1/4-inch safety cable going up that you don't see.
Who
And
is
it looks
Jamie Lee?
No, Donna Keegan, her stunt double.
Oh, for the actual stunt.
For the actual stunt, yeah. But for the other stuff, we had Jamie Lee actually out of the real limo, and we're flying over her, trying to grab the double's arm, never pulling her. Of course.
Oh, but that wasn't that. There was no danger in that for
No,
her.
not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Joel, great. I fantastic stuff, man. I want to thank you.
You bet.
Thank you for coming on. This has been anything. I'm sort of questioned out. I mean, these are questions I've always wanted to ask.
Any questions for people?
I got one.
Okay.
I'm just because of my love for music. Can you talk a little bit about your friendship with Eddie Van Halen?
Oh yes, forgot about that.
Yeah, Eddie. I became great friends with Eddie and Alex. Probably two of the nicest guys in the music business you ever met. And I had a golf pro named Ron Del Barrio. That's at my wedding, by the way. Eddie was at my wedding. Him and Alex.
Ron Del Barrio, the golfer.
Yeah. So Ron was teaching.
I know
Eddie
Ron forever.
And I met Ed once through Ron. So one day, we used to hit balls at Studio City Golf and Tennis, right? It's pouring frickin' rain. And there's only one covered stall. And I said to Susan, Susan, I'm going to go up and hit golf balls. She goes, it's pouring rain. I said, yeah, but I'll get up there early, get the covered stall. Well, I'm corking golf balls. I'm just by myself. And all of a sudden, from behind the little railing, I hear, hey, can I share the stall with you? And I'm looking to hit, and I turn back and I went, yeah, sure, absolutely. I turned back and I go, that's Eddie frickin' Van Halen. So we hit balls for about 2-3 hours and started talking. And, he invited me up to the studio, and Alex and I became good friends. We just became good friends, And I have a lot of great stories with Ed now. And he invited me, my families, to so many concerts. That's my wife and Alex. And Alex's wife, Stina, outside of Lovey's Deli in Calabasas, having breakfast one morning. And the Van Halen brothers were just the best. They are absolutely, they became good friends, and
what a strange bedfellows, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. There's the wedding. That's my son and Ed and I.
Joel, one night when I was doing Charles in Charge, the script supervisor, I think, with the AD, was very friendly with Valerie Bertinelli.
Right.
And she invited us up to her house, and Eddie and Valerie were there, and I was hanging out with them for a while.
Yeah.
And Eddie says to me, "Hey, come on, I want to go pick up some food or something."
Right.
He says, "Come take a ride with me." I'm like, "Okay." He gets me in he had a white Countach.
Right.
And Joel, Eddie Van Halen should have been a stunt driver.
Yeah.
What does that sound?
I don't know. It's none of us.
Anyway, he drove me through back alleys of the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
He might as well have been, Dar Robinson or one of those great stuntmen. He was. I liked him a lot, but anyway.
I watched him crash.
Wait,
yeah.
What did you work with Gene Hackman on?
Oh, I worked with Gene on 2 movies, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. One was with Dan Aykroyd and Dom DeLuise. And I loved working with Gene Hackman. Oh my God. I can't remember the name of the film. It was in Wilmington, North Carolina back in the 80s. And then I worked with him again here in LA like 2 years later. And he's just I really liked Gene. What a professional. I will tell you this, if you ever were a director directing Gene in a movie, when you call him to set, you better be ready.
Loose Cannons? Loose Cannons?
Loose Cannons. That was it.
All right. Good guy. You said he was a good. Yeah, I one of the great actors ever. Anyway, listen, Joel. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for doing this. This was great. I hope people out there really enjoyed it because I enjoyed the heck out of it. Mark, do you have anything?
I got plenty more. One day.
What's the guitar you got up above your left shoulder?
That is a signed guitar from Eddie Van Halen.
Is it a Stratocaster?
No, it's his one of his PV, his own guitar line, a PV.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty, Joel.
I called him up one day. I'm gonna give you a quick story. My son was turning 16, and I called him up and I said, Ed, my kid's coming out. Can you sign a guitar for him? He goes, yeah, come on up to the house. So I bought a PV, like one of his. And I take it up. We're chewing the fat, having a cigarette. I was smoking at the time, you know. He opens it up and he goes, this is one of my guitars, my line. I said, yeah. He got pissed at me. He goes, what are you doing buying guitars? You don't ever buy a guitar. You call me. You get whatever you want for free. This is one-stop shopping. I don't pay for this shit. Whatever you want, you got. He was literally mad. He signed it anyway, you know,
Hey,
but,
good for him.
which was great. Yeah, he's a great guy.
All right, listen. Thank you.
You got it.
Awesome. I love you, my friend.
Love you guys.
Let me know when you go in LA. I'll try to get there, or
Yep.
we'll figure it out. What does that say?
It says,
Love you, Joel.
hope you find a place to live. We were looking for a new house. Hope you find a place to live behind this shit. Eddie Van Halen.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Joel,
All right.
thank you so much. And I know every comments were fantastic. So
Awesome. Love you guys, Mark. I look forward
thank
to
you.
Oh, we'll talk.
Great.
Scotty.
Write to us at takeonlifepodcast@gmail.com.
Awesome. Joel, we could do other shows and we'll continue with stories. It's great.
I got a few more.
All right. Good night,
Thanks.
guys.
Good night, guys.
See up my nose with the